And welcome to Dyn Audio Unheard Container Studio, whatever you like to call it. It's a really, really cool spot we got here. Totally isolated from the rest of NAMM 2019, but it's super cool to be in here. We have air conditioning. Anyway, I'm here to talk about why we're using DPA microphones on every single instrument, on vocals, on guitars, on drums. Anything you can think of will be recorded in here with DPA microphones. DPA microphones started out as a measuring instrument manufactured microphone used to measure industrial stuff. But a couple of very clever guys, they found out that when they're using these microphone capsules on musical instrument, it sounds amazing. Actually, it sounds exactly like the sound source. So make the sound source be with you. We started using these capsules on classical instruments, but over the years, it's been known to be a really, really good condenser microphone for any instrument you can think of. The first microphone that we used back then was the 4006, the legendary B&K 4006. I just have to hold the door here. This microphone here, the DPA, it's now called DPA Danish Pro Audio 4006. And that today will be our room mic for these drums. It captures this very tiny room, but with a lot of good and very nice compression from Aslan, it makes the room sound really big, really umphy. That's fantastic. It's an omni microphone, pressure microphone, so we're not suffering from proximity effect. We're not losing low end from anything just because it's far away. It has the same amount of low end, high end, no matter how close we are, because it's an omni microphone, pressure microphone we call it. Anyway, Rune, hello. Take it away. Right. Let's hear what the drum sounds like, and I'll walk you through how we did it afterwards. Close the door. Rock on, Rune. Sounds fantastic. Let me just walk you through what we did and how we made it sound this incredible natural sound. We started out using two not omnis like this, but half omnis or wide cardioids. We call them 4015 wide cardioid microphones. We placed them as overheads, relatively close to the cymbals, and we used a microphone overhead technique that I will, from now on, ever refer to as the Ashley microphone.
The Ashley method?
The Ashley method. It's fantastic. I learned it yesterday, and I'm going to show you how we did it. Did we ever get a measuring cable?
We got some guitar cables out there we can use. It's nice because everybody's got a cable handy when you want to check phase on overhead microphones. You can just use a guitar cable, piece of string, anything you have lying around, just to make sure that the distance between those two microphones is identical to the snare drum. So that way when you listen to it in speakers, you're getting a time-aligned snare drum sound, which puts it in the center of the image. And that's really what we're looking for here. So take it away, Bo.
It works really well when you work with high-end microphones and you know that the sensitivity of the microphones, they are the same. If you don't know the sensitivity of your microphones, if you use like not measured microphone, calibrated microphones, you will probably end up with something like 6 dB difference between the two microphones. And then the distance is good, it's still in phase, but the level between the two microphones is not as equal as we're getting it here, because these two microphones, they are stereo matched, they are super aligned. So what we did, we started out with measuring the distance from rack tom to the microphone. That's this distance. And then Rune is holding that part of the cable, and we're going to the floor tom, move the cable, and someone moved it?
Yeah.
And the same distance. So the level of the two toms are the same in each microphone, left and right. Then, as a second step to the snare, like this, I will hold the XLR end to the capsule, and Rune will tighten the cable and hold it to the center of the snare, so we get what Ashley is saying, the same distance from both microphones to the center of the snare, like this. So the snare is now arriving at exactly the same level, because the two microphones have the same sensitivity, and exactly the same time, because the distance is the same. So the snare drum will be in phase and in the center of the stereo image if we pan the two overheads hard left, right. So that's our starting point. Let's hear that solo, the overheads, without anything else, just to hear the natural sound of the drums. And I have to remind you that we are not using EQs. EQs is only if you don't know how to place mics, if you don't know how to choose mics, pretty much. So low cut, maybe, that's not an EQ today, at least.
I leave them flat. I want all the bottom from those overheads because it's such good bottom out of the microphone. And especially if you get in-phase bottom, that's what we're talking about with the snare drum. It's a transient. And that transient has to be in line. And it contains all frequencies. So when we start filtering out the overheads, that's because you don't have a good overhead sound. If you leave it full-bodied as you add the close mics in, it just reinforces that transient that's already in line. And that's when it works. That's when the overheads have so much of the sound. It makes my job easier when the overheads are awesome because I'm not fighting anything.
Let's hear it. Let's get outside because it's incredible loud in there. That animal, he plays really loud. Great. Thank you, Rune. And you can tell that the stereo image is really, really natural. It's like being in the room, like sitting in Rune's position. As Ashley told me, the stereo image is not like this. It's not in front of the drummer. That's not how we listen to drums. We listen to the drums more or less like this. We have the kick drum in the center, we have the snare in the center, and then we have the hi-hat over here and the ride over here. So it's not so much like the visual angle that we're going for, it's more like the audible angle. So it works really, really well. We want to close mic. You want to add anything to that?
The audible angle, I think that's a great term.
Okay, you can credit me for that.
Yeah, the audible angle, it's not intuitive. Everybody visually wants to set up a drum set, but they don't think about how their ears are perceiving it. And once we've recorded it, we don't see the drummer anymore. As gorgeous as he might be,
we'll just have a nice picture of him.
Yeah, hang the picture on the wall. So we want to hear it. We want the microphones to be positioned the way we hear it rather than see it. I guess that's.
It doesn't look nice, but it doesn't have to look nice to sound nice, right? So we close mic everything. Of course, it's rock and roll. And the thing is that with this project here, the Unheard container, we don't know what we're meeting. We're meeting 16 bands over the next...
Something like that.
Yeah,
the
16 bands over the next 3 or 4 days. So we don't know what we're meeting. So it could be rock, it could be jazz, it could be experimental, it could be whatever. So we have to keep a flat EQ, we have to keep all options open, and we do that with these mics.